It's time to summarize the previous presentations and give some order to the chaos I've created in giving so many definitions of myth to this point. I've taken a scattershot approach to defining myth and cosmology, including a variety of definitions from a variety of scholars, mainly focusing on David Leeming, Joseph Campbell, Bruce Lincoln, and the Crash Course World Mythology video. Let's summarize. Let's remind ourselves one last time of our list of definitions, both what myth is not, and then the variety of definitions from Joseph Campbell. Of course, it's not a lie that many people falsely believe, an old wives' tale, but rather tends to be a story that deals with gods and heroes, giving us greater understanding about what life means. Myths can be about certain things like gods or heroes, or as Campbell tells us, about the wisdom of life or about legends that become mythologized. The dictionary definition gives us these elemental things that myths are about and adds events and demigods to what myths can be about. Myths can consist of certain traits. Myths are society's dream and can consist of significance and staying power, or be ancestral invocations or revolutionary slogans that come from stories that have credibility and authority. Dictionary definitions have them as traditional stories consisting of historical events that result in a worldview and explain natural phenomena, practices, or beliefs. One can also define myths by their function, as do these here. They provide insight into greater meaning, or they help us assimilate the mysteries around us. They might be akin to Campbell's sociological or psychological functions. Myths can serve to put our minds in touch with the experience of being alive, the psychological function with social implications. They can also help us explain a practice, rite, or natural phenomenon. This can be Campbell's mystical and pedagogical functions. With these definitions in mind, we get a sense of what the purpose myths serve. Symbolically, a myth can be a metaphor or a mask for God or clues, or serve as guideposts to the spiritual, giving us a touch of an experience of being alive. Civilizations, religions, and rituals are based on myths. Lincoln's myth is described as discourse. His definition fits well with Campbell's presentation of myth as a form of dialogue between the seer or prophet and the community, but one that is fraught with risk. Campbell also equates with myths with dreams, calling them society's dream, echoing the collective unconscious of Jung. They are by nature symbolic and metaphorical, revealing secrets of our pasts, presents, and futures. Campbell says that myths about the future will talk at the level of the planet. Are there any operant myths about the whole planet? Well, if not, we'll certainly need them to address anthropogenic climate change, don't you think? Where's that revolutionary slogan when you need one? Campbell focusing on the psychological aspects of myth on the individual, while Lincoln focuses a lot more on the social function of myth and how we can use it for positive change or for evil. One is for the journey inward to put myself in accord with nature and society. The other is social mobility and the role of story and its use by the leader to influence groups and create positive change. Thus we arrive at my own definitions of myth and cosmology. I borrow from Lincoln and Campbell, as you can see. I like myth defined as a discourse, signs and symbols that allow for change, but which explain the sublime side of human life. They can serve as motivators, like revolutionary slogans, but consolidated, they also serve to help us predict the behaviors of others as a result, which gets at the ritualistic side of myths. I accept the dictionary definition of cosmology for its simplicity, noting that I prefer to talk about myth as it gives me the meaning and the why of what is that cosmology is not concerned with. What about your definition? If someone were to ask you for a definition of myth or cosmology, what would your answer be? In the next series of presentations, I'll look at past myth and the role that past myths had in the lives of ancient others.